How do you make unique music? What makes unique music unique? And how can you use those ideas to make your music stand out? I'm about to explain everything I can about this coming right up. Now the thing to keep in mind is the definition of the word unique. Google says it's being the only one of its kind, unlike anything else. And to be unlike anything else, what does that mean? I mean, to a degree, isn't everything similar to something? The thing about unique music, and I'm not even talking about mine, if you want to count that, it's up to you, is, I mean, I'm sure there are plenty, but before I made music, for a handful of years, I was listening to every single genre I could possibly find on the internet. I would look for ones I hadn't heard of yet. The ones you could tell people about on the street, and they're like, I was looking on 4chan, Pitchfork, Mixmag, definitely Wikipedia. I had a few styles I would constantly download albums from, like new albums, genre-defining albums, ones that nobody had heard of, from like smooth jazz to bluegrass and progressive psychedelic trance, harsh noise, liquid drum and bass, just the type of stuff most people didn't listen to. And I did it so I could learn more about what my ear enjoyed. And I learned that even throughout the history of music, the most arguably innovative music is just a combination of ideas that had not been combined before. And if they haven't been combined in a way that had been done before. Jay-Z said about Kanye in an interview that somebody has to try something first. Then a bunch of artists watch from afar, analyzing it. I like this, I like that, and maybe not this. And they get selective about what inspires them, which is totally okay. Like, everybody has their filters, right? Then they perfect the methods and stuff to their own creative means, their own creative standards. And he said that's what Kanye does. He sets those trends. He goes out on the horse with the arrows, and he shoots a bunch of shit down, and he comes back, and he's like, guys, there are a bunch of them over there. Now, maybe you could take this with a grain of salt. Some people don't fuck with Kanye like that, it's all good. But even in other genres, a lot of artists who tend to grow their reputations, speaking creatively, aside from their branding and the marketing and all that, they tend to overlap genres. They incorporate elements of different styles because those elements open people's minds to what's possible outside of the already established ideas in those genres. Because like, there are several artists across hip-hop who have developed great reputations for themselves. Interestingly enough, many of which are at the top of the all-time Metacritic charts. Well, what the fuck is Metacritic? Metacritic assigns a normalized rating out of 100 to reviews from mainstream critics, and a lot of these artists and albums are very highly rated on Metacritic because critics seem to value them. And this. So I'm talking about the overlapping of genres and elements of them. That's what these albums have in common. Stankonia by Outkast combined elements of funk, rave, gospel, psychedelic, and rock within a dirty South type of context. They talk about all sorts of things like misogyny, parenthood, American culture, and introspection. And obviously love. That's a big thing for Outkast. They blend all these different styles and concepts together, and they're like, here you go. Critics went insane! It's one of the highest rated albums on Metacritic. To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar was cut from a very similar cloth in that regard. It actually rated just 1 point higher at 96. At the making of this video, it is literally the highest rated rap album in Metacritic history. It incorporates elements of funk, jazz, soul, spoken word, and avant-garde music. And it talks about all these things that other artists weren't as unapologetic about. Politics, racism. Kendrick is the type of artist who seems to make some sort of pattern just to kind of break it and then pick back up on it at whatever time they feel is best to. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy by Kanye West. And I don't want to sound biased here. That's one of the reasons I picked it. Because I'm not the biggest Kanye fan, but I mean, Kanye is really well known for doing this. I was never crazy about the way he did it, but again, we all have preferences. It combines elements of Baroque, soul, electronic, pop, and even progressive rock. It overlaps genres. It, what sounds like intentionally, doesn't have the highest quality mixing. It sounds almost unfinished in that regard. It talks about grand concepts like the idealism of the American dream, the excess of celebrity idolization, consumer culture, and racism, and it's one of the most critically acclaimed albums in the history of the genre. These 3 albums alone are very arguably innovative as fuck. They are unique because they talk about things other albums don't. They overlap concepts, ideas, and elements of different styles that others won't. How do I apply this? Where do I fall into the equation? Why am I saying all this like I know what is and what isn't? Before I answer that and talk about myself, I want to know what you guys have to say first. If you could pause this video, let me know in the comments. What genres do you overlap in your style? If you don't overlap any, but you'd like to, what genres do you think you could be overlapping into your style? Because just writing that can plant a seed in your head and give you some ideas for your next song or project. I think a lot of hip-hop artists, like the newer ones, have like metal and rock influences. So my music is a combination of rap, pop, and EDM. And I haven't heard any artist making all 3 of those, combining them, overlapping them into one song. If you have, please, I'm begging you to comment their name below. I want to hear every single artist doing something like this because I gotta keep an open mind. Because all the critical success, the uniqueness behind these albums. That's what I'm trying to touch upon creatively by blending genres. That and other things. But those other things obviously overlap with it. If anybody's curious about the music in this video, I made the beat. It can be found in my beat store at samuel.earth/beats or samuel.world. If you have any questions in general, please feel free to hit me up. There are links at the bottom of the description to all my social media. Make sure to leave a like if you like it, subscribe if you haven't already. If you could turn on that little bell to receive a notification every time I drop a new video, that would mean the world to me. You guys can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.